Okay, now we should start the hot discussion.
Okay.
What is the mood in US, sir, after the congressional hearing of Anthony Fauci and the EcoHealth Alliance chairman, Dr. Peter Daszak? What is the mood in US?
I think the mood is shifting. We had until very recently and before the hearings extremely partisan division. And I see cracks forming there. And I see Republicans like the chairman being very responsible and careful in putting evidence together and challenging, also very tough. And I see some Democrats recognizing that there has been some abuse. They don't understand how far it goes. But even Fauci says he has to keep an open mind on some very basic questions, including the very fraught question of the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic.
So what we saw in congressional hearing, Democrats are really want to save Anthony Fauci. What is the logic behind this? Because they think that this fire will go to Biden and it will go to the White House also.
Well, inevitably it will, and that's a very strong motive for Democrats to fight tooth and nail to resist the evidence. But the evidence is accumulating, and it's really reached in the expert community well beyond any partisan divide. And I would say that the preponderance of evidence today, particularly, is about leans toward the engineering side of the question rather than the natural zoonotic transmission, and that this is the beginning of the unraveling of a story.
So the empire of Biden is going to collapse? You think so in the coming election? It has become the election issue?
It has not yet become the election issue. I think inflation is the election issue. And they are very reluctant to trace the inflation back to the huge amount of money they poured into the U.S. and by extension into the global economy over the last 4 or 5 years. And the massive deficits run up under Trump. I think they're both very vulnerable on this question, and they will do everything they can to avoid discussing it.
Okay. Who are the key players in the world, sir, who are willing to capture these organizations like WHO and World Bank, or they have already captured? Who are the key players? Would you like to name any of these, or you just explain? You want to explain in a theoretical manner? My pointed question is that who are the key players? Means the institution, any private institution, or any private players? And yes. Corporate or deep states?
I think that in this case, there have been a group of people centered in the pharmaceutical industry, people who are heavily invested in the pharmaceutical industry, and people who are invested in the vaccine approach to managing epidemic diseases, outbreaks. And for a mixture of motives, I think it's naive to exclude the possibility that there's money to be made in vaccines, and that's why there is a huge push to move away from more traditional approaches to public health, to privatizing and then financializing the public health response. And it's not a conspiracy theory to go on TED and see there's Bill Gates promoting this, putting billions of dollars, investing his own money into all pharmaceutical and the vaccine stuff. And I think in the case of the U.S. National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases and its longtime leader, 40 years, as director. This is almost unprecedented. It's like J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI kind of thing. This goes to your head. This leads to distortions. This means that, whenever you see a problem, you see it through a very clear lens. In reality, it's never quite that way.
गन्ने की कड़ी बुनियाद, जिसे मराठी में खुडक्या और कुछ उत्तर भारत के क्षेत्रों में खुटकी भी कहा जाता है, उसे केवल भोलानाथ का 2-in-1 बैटरी ऑपरेटेड हार्वेस्टर कम ब्रश कटर आसानी से और बिना रुकावट के काट सकता है।